Iran just blew up Qatar's cash machine. The Laffan facility, which handles 20% of global LNG supply, took missile strikes that knocked out 17% of Qatar's export capacity for 3 to 5 years. That's 12.8 million tons of liquefied natural gas per year offline, costing Qatar $20 billion in annual revenue. The damage is so extensive that Qatar Energy CEO told Reuters repairs will take 3 to 5 years even if the war stops today, which, well, let's see if it stops today. I'm Elif Housevel on YouTube. I have a PhD in computer science and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's the thing, the world doesn't stop needing gas just because Qatar's facilities are in flames right now. China imported 73 million tons of LNG in 2026. India's demand hit 29.3 million tons and growing 5 million tons per year. Southeast Asia, that would be Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, is ramping up imports as they industrialize further. Asia Pacific accounts for more than half of global gas demand growth through 2030. That demand doesn't disappear because one facility got hit. It just gets more expensive and someone else gets to fill the gap. Enter Canada and Europe, specifically Norway, which supplies Europe with pipeline gas, and Canada, which is about to become a major LNG exporter. They're both about to print money for the next 5 years, while Qatar scrambles to rebuild. Let's start with a price spike. The morning after the attacks, European gas prices jumped 32% overnight to $24 per MMBtu. Asian spot prices rose 25%. For context, LNG was trading around $10 to $12 per MMBtu before the war. It's now over $24 in Europe. That's not a marginal increase. That's more a windfall for anyone selling gas right now. And it's going to stay elevated because Qatar can't come back online for years. Norway is already cashing in. Norway supplies about 30% of EU gas consumption through pipelines. In 2025, Norway sold 121.8 billion cubic meters of gas. When European gas prices double, Norway's revenue from the same volume effectively doubles. The Norwegian government projected net cash flow from petroleum activities at 664 billion Norwegian kroner in 2025. That would be about $62 billion. With prices spiking and staying high for years, that number is just about to get much larger. Norway's energy minister admitted in early March that they're producing at full capacity and can't ramp up much more, but they don't need to. They're already selling everything they produce at premium prices. Canada's opportunity is a little different, but still incredibly valuable. Canada isn't producing much LNG yet, but it's about to. LNG Canada in Kitimat, British Columbia, reached full capacity of 14 million tons per year in 2026. That's Canada's first large-scale LNG export facility, and it's selling directly into Asian markets with shipping times 50% shorter than U.S. Gulf Coast exports. The facility shipped its first cargo back in June 2025, ramped up throughout the year, and hit full output just as Qatar went offline. The timing just could not be any better. And this is just the beginning. LNG Canada Phase 2, which would double capacity to 28 million tons per year, is expected to reach final investment decisions in 2026. The project has been designated a national interest project by the federal government, meaning regulatory approval is streamlined. If they move fast, Phase 2 could be online by the early 2030s, right as Qatar is finishing their repairs, if the war ends today. Meanwhile, Woodfibre LNG, that's 2.1 million tons per year, is targeting operations in 2027. Cedar LNG, 3.3 million tons per year, reached final investment decision and targets in 2028. KSI Lismus LNG, 12 million tons per year, is expected to take final investment decision in 2026, with first production as early as 2029. Just added up all together, Canada could have over 30 million tons per year of LNG export capacity by 2028-2029. That's literally in 2 years. Qatar just lost 12.8 million tons per year for 3 to 5 years. Canada is building more than double Qatar's loss, and it's coming online exactly when the market needs it the most. That is not a coincidence. That is a geopolitical opportunity. Here's the money math. At pre-war prices around $10 per MMBtu, 12.8 million tons of LNG translates to roughly $20 billion per year in revenue. That's exactly what Qatar is losing right now. At current prices, over $24 per MMB2, the same volume is worth closer to $48 billion per year. If Canada ramps up to 30 million tons per year by 2029 and sells into a market still scrambling to replace Qatar, they're looking at $70 to $100 billion in annual LNG export revenue depending on where prices settle. Now, for a country that currently exports almost no LNG, that is extremely transformative. It funds infrastructure, creates jobs in British Columbia and Alberta, generates massive tax revenue, and it positions Canada as a critical energy supplier to Asia for decades to come. If you're finding this analysis useful so far, do check out my book, Awake: The Practice of Critical Thinking in an Age of Self-Lies. It walks through how to read these kinds of shifts before they actually become obvious. It's available in ebook and audiobook. Subscribers get 10% off, and you can get the first chapter in the description below. The window here is finite but lucrative. Qatar will eventually repair the damage. The CEO said 2 of Qatar's 14 LNG trains and 1 gas-to-liquids facility were destroyed, and the damaged units cost approximately $26 billion to build. Even with unlimited funding, rebuilding that infrastructure is going to take a lot of years. You're not just replacing equipment, you're rebuilding entire production trains that liquefy natural gas at minus 162 degrees Celsius under immense pressure. That requires specialized contractors, long lead equipment, and extensive testing. 3 to 5 years is, in my personal view, optimistic. It could stretch longer if the war continues or if supply chains for critical components are constrained. But during that window, Canada and the EU capture market share. Once you're supplying gas to China, India, South Korea, you've established relationships and infrastructure. Even when Qatar comes back online, and of course it will one day, buyers are diversified. They're not putting all of their eggs in one basket again, especially one that just proved that it can be knocked offline by missiles. Canada benefits from being geographically far from Middle East conflicts and politically stable. That's worth a massive premium when you're signing 20-year LNG contracts. And the broader pattern is that wars create winners, not because war is good, but because disruptions redistribute market power. It's a sad reality. The US and Israel started a war that blocked the Strait of Hormuz, spiked oil prices, and triggered retaliatory strikes on Gulf energy infrastructure. Qatar, which is a US ally, got hit by Iran because Israel struck Iranian gas fields first. Now Qatar is bleeding $20 billion per year, while Canada and the EU step in to replace them. The US profits from higher oil prices and increased LNG exports. Canada profits from new LNG sales. Europe profits from Norway's increased revenue. The losers are essentially Qatar, Iran, and anyone buying energy at inflated prices. It's not clear why this war is happening or how it ends, but it definitely can't end unilaterally at this point. Too much infrastructure is destroyed, the economic damage is already done. What's left is just watching who fills the void. Right now, that would be Canada and Europe, and they're getting very, very rich doing it. If you want to understand how these energy disruptions connect to the collapse of the US dollar dominance, I made a video breaking down the petrodollar system and why it's unraveling faster than most people realize. It's linked on your screen right now, but basically the short version is when global energy trade routes through Canada and Norway instead of the Gulf, and when transactions shift towards euros or yuan, America loses the structural advantage that's funded its deficit for 50 years. Check out the video, it's super in-depth and interesting. That's already starting. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.